Good morning. Oh, I'm just lovely.
Add something and say, hey, we'll build a witness box in each of the courtrooms. Other thing, the bench was too low. We need to raise the bench up. The bench that they sit behind.
Just pump it here.
Yeah, too low.
Jay, you're up.
We need to raise it.
All right.
He's gonna talk to Carl with it. Get authorized to fix that. Whatever it is, they gotta wait 2 weeks.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Call to order.
Bishop's on the point over there.
Recording.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Mike gets that new haircut and he's a little on point.
Okay, I've been told we need to get going. We're waiting on you.
Good morning, everybody. We are going to call our May 15th Board of Supervisors meeting to order. This time, Mr. Slay, our preacher, is going to pray for us.
Lord, this is an occasion where we begin this meeting, as always, by acknowledging that we need you. Father, thank you for demonstrating your power consistently. Father, thank you for your sovereignty over us. Father, thank you that everything is under your care, under your control. Father, that we can rest and be at peace and be content that you are going to oversee everything. You're not caught off guard. Father, we're not informing you that we have needs. You already know that. So, Father, I pray that you would demonstrate that power and that authority over us today. Help these men as they submit themselves to your will in leadership of this community. Father, I pray that they would have wisdom like they've never had it before, to understand and to see things that they need to tackle, Lord, to have the courage to do it. Father, I pray that you would just continue to protect our community. Thank you, Lord, for how you've demonstrated your protection over this place. Father, how you've protected our first responders, how you have encouraged us with the way that our community has rallied and supported one another. Father, these are all blessings, and so we want to count our blessings. We want to be thankful for that today. Father, don't let us live in a spirit of fear. We know that doesn't come from you. And so, Father, I pray that any spirit of fear that we're in, that we're engaged in at this moment, Father, just take that away and give us the peace that we need that surpasses all understanding. We pray all this in Jesus' name.
Thank you, Craig. Okay, public comment. We have one of my esteemed mayors here. Come on up, Jake.
You gonna burn that?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm just joking.
Well, I'm back. I came before COVID-19, so COVID-19 hit, and then we did some preliminary engineering on the bridge decks that I talked to you gentlemen about. And we were hoping to get 5 in, but we're probably going to have to get 6 in order to do it, because it's going to disrupt businesses from some retail areas there. You have some trailer sales there. You also have a old bank, but we think that we could easily do it with 6. And of course, the other additional ask, just due to some down revenues at this point from the cities, because y'all realize that 50% of our budget comes from sales tax. Y'all understand that. So I am asking that y'all consider including the engineering fees in. Obviously using engineers that y'all are already familiar with and trust. With Benchmark Engineering, that's who we reached out to talk about this, because I know that you guys would have more confidence in those fellas than if we just brought a strange engineer that we use. There's one more ask that I do have, and I would appreciate help on. I know that I'm just coming up here with a handout, but we have had an ongoing problem on Amanda Drive. There's been more houses built, and that's been one of our shortfalls in Pearl, is being able to build more houses, more larger homes. But that culvert that was placed in Amanda Drive several years ago, we were going to ask for an additional funding. A bridge deck would work there. It would be a smaller bridge deck than what the span is on 80. Wouldn't be as costly. All those things would be a great addition for Pearl. I think I told y'all before, those bridge decks in Pearl on 80 themselves would be almost a historic moment for the city, just because it would free up so much flooding right there in that particular area. The other side of this, coming here today, from one aspect, Pearl hadn't just sitting here, coming here getting money. We have projects going on, but as I told you before, the reason we even came with this ask is because some of our capital outlay on our detention ponds, the engineering fees, we got into 500 grand, so it cut out a lot of our spending ability in order to build the bridge deck. So that's why I came for the initial ask, and then some down revenues. So 7 bridge decks total, 1 smaller, and engineering fees. I hope you gentlemen would consider it. It would help our city out greatly.
And just so y'all know, I asked him to come on because, you know, those repairs that we have to make on ours, Mike told us it's gonna be September before anything be done. So if we're gonna help them with this, we need to get in line, you know, go ahead and get the order in. So,
Do we have a list of all of our stuff yet?
I think so.
Do we?
Yeah, there was 10 of them, I believe.
You got all that, Mike? All of ours on the county side?
We've got a list of bridges we got to repair, Daniel. You know, we're putting our quantities and stuff together now.
So we don't have a total yet on our cost, right?
Not exactly. So we're doing some hydraulic work with it.
Okay.
Make sure that we put in the right bridges.
So one thing on the additional bridge deck that I was asking about on Amanda, we did a hydraulic study with Jill Butler, and she provided some information. So if you guys want to see that, and even Matthew Miller can even speak to it somewhat, because we had them address it with Jill, and y'all know that she's the best when it comes to ditches, and she provided the additional information. So that's just not us going out there asking for the material to be put in place without having some science behind it.
Yeah, there's one house that floods pretty constantly over there, and you know, he's suing everybody on the sun. We went in a few years ago, if y'all remember, Pearl had that 60-inch culvert go out, and truthfully at the time they didn't have anybody capable of fixing it, so they had a lot of turnover, and Jake first took over. So, but personally, I would like to see us go ahead and get this taken care of. And how much was each one of those based on? What kind of money are we talking about?
We figured, Mike, I might be speaking out of church here, but we talked about each bridge deck being close to 100,000.
Hey, Mike,
Or is
what is our commodities on those?
Just depends on what size you're putting in, Jake. You know, I mean, it all varies in width, lengths, and difference on the panels and what you're gonna drive for pilots and stuff. You got, I mean, pilots you put, you know, I think when
I need to know what it cost us, what ours is.
That's why I was asking
I
Mike.
kinda need to know that, don't you think?
something like we did on the lawn.
I don't know what ours is first.
Yeah.
I need some numbers.
You know, yeah, different things like that.
They still working on that bridge on Thomas thing. They don't know the cost on it.
I got you.
Just think of quantities you put together. Biggest thing we need to do is quantities of bridges, what size it is, and we put it together to see what size, what our cost is per
I
bridge.
mean, I got one that's on the list, and that's the reservoir. That's
Alright.
this half of me. I know that one.
Well, I would think.
Yeah, I just want to see the list. I mean, all the list of the numbers of ours first, just to look at them and see where we're at. Because I know I've got a couple at the reservoir. I know that is outside the limits now, weight limits, and one of them's right there by the fire station on Spillway Road. So I'm fixing to be in a point to where you can't turn out the fire station and go east. It's gonna be shut down because the capacity's been dropped down on the way to the bridge. So I just want to see. I want to help you guys. I do. I just want to see our list of our total, see where we're at on the money on everything, and then definitely get the figures and totals on your guys' bridge. Throw them all in there. Let's look at all the numbers, and we can come back and prioritize in my mind what we can spend the money on. But definitely calculate you guys in there. I'm for getting the numbers.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing. I mean, I know that I don't have an OPC today on the exact cost it would take, but I did want to make sure that you guys understand it would have a big impact on the city in that area right there.
Yeah.
No longer would, the ridicule of that area flooding and things like that, and it would just be a shot in the arm for the city, and it'd be a great thing. So, and it could be this board that got it done. So, thank you guys. I appreciate your
All right,
time.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, Jake. All right, do we have any other public comment?
No, sir.
Come on up.
Let me again, too.
No, it's not.
I know y'all all been getting asked and calls about the arena, different things on that, when we're gonna open and do. We've been in touch with Andy Gibson's group, and Andy. We got some stuff that Ken's pulled up, that we've gotten emails on from Dr. Dobbs. Andy's leaning on Dr. Dobbs on a lot of restrictions and stuff. So I'm gonna kinda let Ken go through a little bit of that.
Well, on May 13th, the Commissioner of Agriculture sent Dr. Dobbs a letter, said the Mississippi Department of Agriculture and Commerce seeks your guidance on agriculture-related events scheduled for the months of June, July, August, and September. The following day, Dr. Dobbs responded to the Agriculture Commissioner, said that based on your description of the planned agriculture events, we agree that there are steps that can be taken to minimize the risk. Please plan to proceed with your planned agriculture events that you have scheduled. We are working on a detailed guidance that we will share with you in the future.
Well, that's pretty good.
But I think
have a
open one.
So, in other words, what we're saying is, once we get Dr. Dobbs' plans in,
Yeah.
we would like to be able to proceed with the months of June, July, August, and September, according to Dr. Dobbs' plan.
I think there's gonna be some changes, we're gonna have to do
Yeah, I
some
mean,
different
we're gonna have
things.
to, me and Ken's been talking about this quite a bit. Even if we do open up with shows, we're gonna have to control crowds, different things, to try to help do a few things to keep everybody safe, and then we're gonna have time to, what I would call disinfect or sanitize the area and get it ready for the next show, you know. So we're gonna be looking at different steps. Hopefully by the work session, we'll have y'all some stuff and some plans out of what's going on, but we were just kinda wanting to put it out there in front of y'all to where we can start planning for June, because some of these shows, we've talked to the show people and they're gonna go paperless and try to enter their stuff ahead of time on the computer. We've looked at some different things that different, PRCA is doing to, they've gone complete paperless. There will not be nobody coming up to the office. Everything will be an email transfer type deal. So they're doing a lot of things. Looking at a lot of different other associations that put on these kind of events, how they put the COVID-19 package together.
But as of today, we're still under the Safer at Home order. I know Starkville's closed, Meridian's closed, Montgomery County Coliseum is closed, Brookhaven's closed, Hancock County's closed, and Gallman's closed, as of today.
Well, that would still apply, same thing to the ones that have been wanting to come in there, just like they random come in and there's not really a show, so it's still.
Right. Well, and our hard thing is there, Jared, is if we let somebody come in there today and ride, then we've got to sanitize and disinfect the whole place, because we don't know where they've been.
Right.
And that gets to be costly to everybody
Oh,
to
I
try to do
understand. I
that.
just-
And under the
I want to be
Safer
able
at
to answer
Home
that
order,
question, because that's gonna come up.
Right.
under the Safer at Home order, it would only be allowed right now 10 people or less, and only until 7 p.m. I guess we would have to wait the cost of all the sanitation, the personnel, and so on, for 10 people in the county.
Let me ask you this, what about, I've been asked, if someone has a private arena or something, let's say like you, Steve, something.
Sure.
And I'm just saying, I mean, a small one like some you have, or someone, a lot of people have those.
Actually, there are a few of those that are starting up, and there's one scheduled in Rankin County for May 31st, up on
I
Highway
mean, can't-
43.
So that can happen, we
Yes,
can't control that.
Open pen can, as long as it's an open environment,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, it's still.
I don't know if it follows the governor's order or not, but there are some.
Well, I'm just
scheduled.
saying, there's nothing,
I have to lean on Craig
nothing
on
that's
that.
saying they can't.
Well, they're opening up those parks for kids, the baseball fields, soccer fields, things like that are open up on the outside.
So,
the governor
let's
can tell,
let's organize our thoughts around the big picture here, which is you've got public facilities and you have private facilities. And
Right.
so the discussion before you right now is focused primarily on your public facility
Right.
and how that's going to be operated. Private facility, just to quickly answer that question, is that they're subject to the same executive order that everybody is, Jared. And so it comes down to an issue of compliance and enforcement. I don't think the sheriff is interested in policing small, private horse arenas. If we get, Yeah. If we get phone calls and complaints, obviously there will be some manner of checking up on that
Right.
and determining whether or not there really is a public safety issue that arises out of that.
Right.
But it's very doubtful that any of that will happen.
Right.
Hopefully folks will just use good common sense. On the public arena side, and what you've heard this morning is that we expect some movement. In fact, the Commissioner of Agriculture has been very direct that he would like to see more and more of these kinds of activities opened up. Okay, so he's actively pursuing it, and he's ready to get back going. And he's asking, I think appropriately, for the state health department to weigh in. Is it in fact safe, in your opinion, for us to consider these
Right.
things? And then we'll ramp up and start making plans. And the state health department was clear in response. We think that what you have described, the events that you have described, so it's important to know what did he describe. That needs to be addressed, and I'll come back to that. But the events that you've described don't appear to us to be a public safety hazard. And with some level of guidance that we don't have yet, but we'll get to you, if you can run those events with this guidance, then you should be in good shape. All right, so nobody wants to be as direct as we would like them to be these days. You're going to get a lot of, well, we think, well, maybe. You're going to get a lot of that because nobody's really wanting to take just an abject, outright position statement on these kinds of issues. There's so much uncertainty, so it's difficult for us to ask, obviously, political leadership to take that level of stand on an issue. I think eventually there will be somebody, there's going to be a Custer that goes out there, and hopefully they'll be more successful than he was. But once you get that individual who is brave enough to get out there, Governor of Georgia is an example, where some of the arrows they get shot and he's still standing, then the dam starts to break. And I think we'll start seeing that. It's going to move its way across the country. I think that's kind of where we're headed with these things. But there's still that careful step-by-step process that we're going through. So we're going to be waiting on some state health department guidance on shows, okay? When you dig down into what the Commissioner of Agriculture asked, the events that he asked about, it's not as clear as I would have hoped by way of comparison to some of the horse shows that we have here. And so and I don't want to get on Ken's territory here, but you've got your Little Britches and you've got some other organized events that generally are well attended. And so there's some crowd control factors that may not have been in the Commissioner of Agriculture's description of the events that he was focused on. He also asked the State Health Department for guidance on your really large events, like your trade shows that are going to be at whatever the new Trade Mart is now, and at the Coliseum. And the State Health Director was very clear, that ain't happening. So somewhere between what he asked about, the smaller attended shows and the really large shows, somewhere in between there is probably where we fall. And right now, I'm not really clear on what we've got a wave off to go ahead with from the State Health Director. Maybe in this guidance, there will be some indication there. The general rule of thumb is, and this was in the State Health Director's letter back to Andy Gibson, if it's a show that's going to have attendance greater than about 50% of your capacity, it's probably off limits. So there's somewhat of a line there. And for us, I think that's a moving target. Depends on what kind of show it is. And so my thought would be this. We probably want to spend our time thinking through issues like this. We're going to make the arena available at some point in time with the guidance. And we're going to set some fairly bright line rules about the amount of crowd that we can say with certainty would be allowed for any event. We're going to make them stay separated, but there probably needs to be an outside limit of the number of folks that we're going to let in there. At some point, it just becomes humanly impossible to keep people separated enough to comply with the separation requirements. So if we let 3,000 people in there, we can't keep them 6 feet apart. There wouldn't be any way to police that. Wouldn't be any way to enforce that. So if we set some bright line rules, then my suggestion would be that we make the event organizer either have a plan to enforce compliance themselves, or they pay us for the cost of doing it. It's just a working theory that I'm getting now, that I'm working on now. I'm not suggesting that's where we need to be. It's just something I want y'all to be thinking about. There's going to be a very real cost to us, especially from a law enforcement perspective, to ensure that folks are following the rules. And so we're going to have to have people, and we're going to have setups, crowd control methods that are going to have to be manned and enforced. So that's a very real cost, and we just need to think through what that's going to look like. But we don't have guidance to even start planning with just yet. Okay?
And one of our biggest challenges will be with opening back up is the design of our building. Our bleachers, I have measured them off in order to keep every single person 6 foot apart, no families together or anything, 6 foot apart. Our maximum capacity is 50 people. You take like Meridian, for example, that has bleachers that run the length of the building and will seat 3,000. They could put 1,000 in there with 6 foot distancing. We have 50 people to fill our bleachers. So don't know what the guidelines will be though.
Yeah. Well, the question I'd had was like the little private thing, places, could they open up for people to come ride? And, I said, hey, I don't know if who's going to enforce that?
Yeah.
And, well, just like the one on 49, not that he
Right.
will, but I mean, he's private too.
But I mean, we've done some things, we've got some cameras in the arena, we've got some live feeds that people can watch, to keep grandparents from coming, they can watch, on their computer. So we've took some steps and working on some more steps, just to kind of control crowds where they can still have an event, but it may not be a bigger crowd there for them.
Right.
So, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Any more?
All right, Mike Word, you got something you want to say?
I think he's on the end.
I do, but I think,
All right.
Mr. Slay and I have got a plan to,
Okay,
we've got a couple of different issues, so.
moving on then. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda, consent agenda?
Motion.
Motion by Steve,
Second.
second by Daniel. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Yeah, I thought you skipped a minute.
Oh, sorry.
Motion approved.
Motion approved minutes by Jared,
Second.
second by Steve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Miss Caroline, you came in just right time.
Here's one, Caroline.
There you go. Just take mine.
I've got one.
That'd be good. You got it. Make it happen.
Okay, so just the MICA membership dues for the tax collector in the amount of $1,000. I think we're up through all October, but they'll need to be repaid for the following fiscal year.
So moved.
And then we need to renew our subscription for it's in VETAS. It's where we look up the MSRP information for new vehicles. To renew that, and we're upping the subscription to $5,000. I think it was a lower number than that before, but this was the more economical value, so it'll be in the amount of $2,750, and to be able to issue that check.
So I'll make a motion to approve A and B.
All right, motion by Daniel to approve
Second.
both those items, second by Jared. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on up, Mr. Sutherland. Thank you for dressing up for us.
Yes, sir. I'm winning. Petition to change the assessment on 2019 real property assessment roll.
So moved.
Motion by Daniel, second by Jared. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. See you, John. Ms. Herring.
Good morning.
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 My first item this morning, I'm requesting approval of a copier contract with Southern Duplicating for the tax assessor's office.
Motion approved.
Okay, motion by Jared to approve,
Second.
second by Steve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
My next item is we're awarding the bid to the unit system for the emulsion truck and striping machine. On the emulsion truck, my recommendation is Mid-South Machinery with Puckett Machinery as an alternate in case that one, for some reason, it doesn't meet specs. And on the striping machine, we received one bid, and my recommendation is to award it to Vogel Traffic Services doing business as Easy Liner.
So how much are both of those?
Yeah.
Each one?
Okay, for Mid-South Machinery, the low bid's $177,700. Puckett Machinery's bid was $179,877.02. Our striping machine, the one bid received was $194,565.40.
Hey, take me back to this Mid-South Machinery issue. Did we not buy something from them before?
Yeah, I mean,
Walk me
I'm-
through.
I'm
Walk me
a-
through.
I'm a
Walk me through
talk-
my problem with Mid-South last
well,
year.
I put some, little bit of information on y'all's desk right there. And I just want to talk with y'all, make y'all's ruling on it. And, basically, we had some downtime last year with this piece of equipment. And, I mean, we run into this a lot with Mid-South. They don't keep a lot of parts in stock. They have to order everything. And, basically, we started, excuse me, we started with a $4,000 fix that didn't fix it. Then we ended up with $1,800 fix, it didn't fix it, $1,600 fix, it didn't fix it. We just kept rolling on for about 30 days, and we ended up spending another $14,000, and we ain't 100% sure we fixed yet. But I mean, I know we're talking about a new emulsion truck, but I mean, it's just kind of, I want to give y'all, and I've got the documentation right here in a folder, you know, of what went on. But we've got, you see the cost we've done right there, and I know this is a 15-year-old machine, but I mean, we should have not have spent $4,000 because the $14,000 we think is what fixed it. Everything, what we done is a test sample looks to be fixable, but I mean, what it boiled down to, the computer board was bad in the truck. That's what we ended up changing out and fixed the problem. So all this other cost was just changing parts out, trying to get going, and I don't even have the rental cost in here that we rented a truck from to get up and going.
So we've had issues with Mid-South Machinery. That's what you're telling me?
Yes, sir. And I mean, I just wanted to put that in front of y'all. Y'all make a decision however you do it.
For service and things of that nature, you're having
Right.
issues with that company. So maybe you can remind me of the legal issues on not taking the low bid and
Yes,
the other one.
that's correct. So what we find is that sometimes there's confusion, especially for the layman, that you are required as a governmental body to absolutely take the lowest bid. That's not what the bid law says. You're required to consider and to accept the lowest and best bid. And so the consideration of what constitutes both the lowest and best will exceed, obviously, just a rote calculation of what's the lowest bid. So in this particular case, you've got a couple of bids that have been submitted. They appear to be separated by about $2,200 based on what I can tell here. So the evaluation can be obviously beyond just pricing. So what Mike has provided to you is a couple of things that I would comment about. Number one is the ability of Mid-South Machinery, or the willingness to keep an adequate supply of replacement parts on hand. So we see downtime that results from the fact that parts oftentimes have to be ordered. I don't really know what the turnaround times are on those parts, but it's affecting us. We lose time in the field waiting on parts. That's an issue. It's probably an issue for all vendors, but some are better at it than others just by virtue of our experience. Okay, so
This
that's
is
one
a new
issue.
machine.
This is a brand new machine.
The
So
difference was, I mean, somewhat different, the one's old.
that's correct.
Right, but we did.
But
I
it's
mean,
the same.
We borrowed Central County's last year,
Right.
which is this truck we're talking about.
Yeah,
We were still down a week right there, a brand new truck went down and waiting on part to get it going.
And that was the next comment I was going to make, the issue of the actual unit itself that's being spec'd here. It's a particular brand of emulsion truck, and Mike's experience is, as a road manager, is that particular brand is not at the same level of quality that the competitor's brand is. And that seems to be a consistent evaluation about that brand in the road building business. So there are issues with that particular brand, and it relates to issues of how consistently it can be worked on and maintained, the cost of maintenance, but just whether or not it's a reliable machine. Okay, so that's a factor. So I don't want you guys to hear me trying to sway things or sway your opinion on this. Clearly, the Roscoe unit is the lowest priced unit. And more than likely, the folks at Mid-South Machinery are going to have a hard time understanding why this board, should it choose to do so, didn't take the lowest price.
So do you feel good about us not going with them?
Well, just from a legal standpoint,
Yeah.
I can absolutely support whatever decision the board makes here, whether it be the Roscoe machine at the lowest or the secondary unit, this Etnire at a higher price, with the understanding that the board is going to make a finding as to why it chose low bid number 2.
It's hard though. I mean, I'm hearing everything you're saying, but that's really hard if you're out there bidding something. I mean, to be able to stomach that, because it always looks like, and always will be looked at as, well, as why, more or less. We bid it to get a low bid to get it. I bid jobs, you bid it, you're the low one. I've been screwed out of them too for different reasons, but there's no real answer.
It would not be appropriate for this board to simply choose number 2 and not say why. That would not be appropriate, and I wouldn't want you to do that. So if you're going to choose the second low, then you need to explain on the minutes why it is that you're doing that. So Mike has given you the repair history, the recent repair history on the emulsion truck, and he's also told you about issues that he's had with replacement part availability, the delays that are occasioned by that. Another issue that I think you need to pay attention to is, and it gets beyond just the brand, the manufacturer of the unit, it gets to the actual dealer, and it's an issue of service. And it seems to me that a local dealer, especially, that is wanting Rankin County's business needs to be, they need to demonstrate that they want that business, right? Which means if Mike's going to be down for a month, we need to be figuring out ways to get something in his hands he can work with. And so I think that kind of discussion has been ongoing, and that we hadn't gotten anywhere with this particular
But was
dealer.
this an older truck, piece of equipment we were working on?
Yes, sir.
So we really can't compare older with the new.
And I'm basically putting this out there because I don't want nobody to say, hey, Mike,
Right. No, I
we had a
understand.
problem with the old one, and we just bought a brand new one, and now you're coming to us because you're having problems with it. I'm just putting it out there in
Oh, I
front of y'all
understand.
and
I understand, and
and that's my job to do that.
I
mean,
agree with you,
uh,
but it's just hard to
I
go
understand.
against the low bid
I understand.
because they are the low bid. I mean, we can find that way when we start buying backhoes, tracos, whatever.
Yep.
It's just, I don't like that reputation.
Yep.
But
I
I do
don't wanna-
understand everything you're saying, and I agree. It's just the fact that we're moving away from the low bid.
Yes.
We've done that in the past, you know, and obviously the bidder that didn't get it was upset, wrote some letters, but, you know, when George Bobo was here, we went with another dump truck one time, and Volvo got upset because our road managers had bad experience with Volvos, you know, so.
I don't remember that, but I'm not.
We're talking about 1% difference, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that. It's just,
not doing the math on it, but yeah.
About 1%.
yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I agree. It's just,
How much did it cost us to wait?
1,000, 2,000.
but that was on an older truck.
But you borrowed one that was new from another county, and you had the same similar problems
Compare.
on a new truck.
And that brand.
Same brand.
Same brand.
Same,
But you borrowed one from, the one you
Simpson
borrowed
County-
was the same brand?
Simpson County bought one last year.
Right, yeah.
So they was in a midst of down for a little bit, so I borrowed it. I mean, I begged last year to try to get through.
I remember you borrowed it, but
But I mean, it went down, it took a week to get it back up and going.
But and your problem is with the
And
Roscoe.
they had several problems with it too, and I mean, the problem is, you got a short window to do this. I mean, when the temperature gets above 70 degrees, you need
Oh,
to
I
be
know.
working when it starts falling.
Yeah.
And the problem is, you order 2 tanker loads of tar, that's $20,000 right there, and
Oh,
once you
I
order
agree.
it and the truck goes down, you gotta eat it.
I hear everything you're saying, it's just, like I
So
said,
I'm just putting it out there for y'all and.
we're not gonna do
I mean, how do we know that if we went with Puckett, that they could jump on it and get it fixed?
That's a
Or do
good
they have a
point.
backup plan? And, I mean, do they have a
I mean,
truck?
I go into it, I mean, they've got technicians and specialties that's trained through it in our factories. I mean, I know Mid-South's gonna say the same thing, but, I mean, I knew the pumps wasn't what was bad on the truck was holding pressure, you know, but they just insisted that was what was bad, and then once we got to that, then it wasn't that, you know, I mean, I knew it was an electrical problem because it kept going and coming, you know, it wasn't just continuous shut out, and the computer board was way over my head, but I mean, it just, basically what happened was finally got the factory to send down a computer board, put a computer board in there, and everything went to working like it was supposed to be. So then we bought a computer board to go in the truck at that point.
So how old was Simpson's machine?
1 year.
And it has to deal with the brand or type of machine, right? And that's also caused a part of the
But
problem.
I mean, you
So
can
if
get a
went
limit,
with-
you
so
can get a
go with-
limit in anything,
Yeah,
Daniel. I mean,
I'm
I'll
with
be
you.
honest
So,
with
but if
you.
you go with the other side, the Puckett machinery, then I guess the entire Centennial,
Etnar.
right?
I mean, they,
Whatever it's called.
yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Etnar.
I know nothing about trucks. I think I drive a
It's just,
Ford, or I may drive a
I
Chevy.
mean, Etnar's their own factory, they're just a dealer for
Yeah,
it.
but my recommendation is with you, if you're having trouble with this deal and this brand, and it's causing you problems, and the service and the maintenance and all with this company, I can't afford to be down 2 months during this time of
The
year.
summertime,
So,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I can't. So,
I mean, this, you know, we do have a little bit lighter year this year with the chip seal than what we normally have, you know, just because of budget stuff. But I talked several with y'all about where we're going next year with it, and everybody seems to be in agreement, so we're gonna be pounding the ground next year with this, and I just don't wanna, we do a good job, and our work did not turn out as good last year because of the truck. I mean, we was having issues, we wasn't putting the right prescription of tar out there. It was hard to tell what was going on. It was trial basis deal. I mean, you order a tanker load of tar, whether it's working right or not, you gotta put it out. I mean, that's the one thing we do not have the capability of. I'm hoping that this year, we did get a new emulsion tank for our pothole patcher, so we're gonna get the old tank cleaned up, so we'll be able to, if we get in a bind, be able to hold a 1 tanker load of tar if something goes down with the truck. I mean, anything can break at any time. I mean, I'm not saying we'll have trouble out of either one of them, but I'm just going by past history. I just wanted to
Okay.
put that out there. Thank y'all.
All right, so do we have a motion on the first item?
yeah, based on what I'm hearing from Mike, I'm gonna make a motion to recommend to purchase the Puckett one. And no, it's not the low bid, but for the reasons of service, maintenance, the brand, the type, that we've had trouble with on the historical data that
Yes.
Mike put to us.
Service history.
Service history, all that
Yes.
stuff like that. It's my motion to take not the low bid, but one from Puckett, which is an additional, I guess, what, $1,500, $2,000? What is it?
It's right at $2,200.
20, okay, yeah, $2,200. So that's my motion.
Okay, motion by Daniel to take the second bid, which he declares the best.
Second.
Second by Brad. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right, number 2. Number 2?
I make a motion that we accept the only bid that we got on that one.
Was it
Thank God we got one.
Steve took the hard one.
That's a tough one.
Took a tough one there.
You got discussion on that
I
one?
think it's the lowest and best.
Hey.
For all the reasons stated.
I think it's odd that we only got one.
It's the specs were fun. I'll just say that. It was very difficult. There are so many different sizes. Some aren't just trucks, some are, there's all different things, and we worked hard to get.
Well, isn't this a little more than we estimated?
I think this is right on it.
About right.
These are expensive. They last a long time, but they are very expensive.
I've never had. Oh, you took it to start with.
On the second game's highest bid, Steve took the high bid
Yes.
also.
So we're in between. We got this size, and then you got these tiny ones that you push behind, and some.
No, we don't want that
So
one.
It
They
was,
they weird how they do it. They either go from a push behind to
Just
this unit right
200,000.
here, or they just go to a great big commercial unit.
Not a lot of-
You know, it's not like equipment that they just kind of gradual step.
Pretty easy shopping.
Yeah. So it kind of, it's limited on who makes the middle.
All right, we have a motion by Steve and second by Daniel. Any other discussion?
Will it do parking lots?
I mean, if it's a big parking lot, you know, where you can lay out and do, but most parking lots are done by hand machine.
I saw somebody doing that yesterday.
Just because you're doing a
Pretty cool
strike,
way to do it.
me, it's hard to kind of make a truck, you know, do that. Right. I reckon if it's a flat, big open parking lot, you could probably get the centers done, and have to have a hand machine to do it.
Okay, no other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Thank y'all.
my final item, it's time to renew the contract for the vending with Coombs Distributors, and the contract will begin June 1st and it'll go through May 31st of 2021.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Motion by Jared,
Second.
second by Brad. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bridget. Mr. Harrison, you
You should have stayed up here.
Stayed up there, but I got all the things that didn't, so what I.
Yeah, we're cutting back on paper.
No, I see the chairs, just didn't know who sat in the chair.
Sorry. Got Bay Springs wanting to do a utility permit on 043 Gray Road, Rankin, Ferguson Road, District 4, excuse me.
I miss being around people.
So move.
All right, motion by Steve,
Second.
second by Daniel. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
I got Comcast that's wanting to do one in Willow Grand. We had caught them in there doing this, and we had previously shut them down. Told them they had to fill out a permit. We've got, finally, I think we've got, it's gonna be a work in progress with them because they've never, me and Janice about to pull our hair out with them,
Yeah,
but
so,
anyway.
so just for on the record, so everybody knows, they came into the Willow Grand area in the back of Castle Woods and didn't have any permits. They just started boring, tearing up stuff. They cut sewer lines, water lines, everything else. They just run road through us. So if you feel like we've got control of it now, or at least Janice has control of this,
Well, I mean, we're gonna
As best we
issue,
can.
we're gonna issue the permit,
We
get them
just gotta-
started, and,
we just got to really stay on this one because
yes.
I don't think they've done them. So
They were resistant to even doing a permit.
Right.
Right.
Just a quick word. You guys may remember that when we first started having issues with C Spire, we had visits from their corporate legal counsel. You remember that? And they like to throw around those franchise agreements. We have a franchise agreement with Comcast. It's probably 40 years old. It goes back to the late 70s, early 80s. Obviously, it wasn't Comcast back then, but that the forebearer of Comcast.
Susquehanna.
I think it was actually called Rankin County Cable Company, something like that. Okay, and it has evolved since then up to now Comcast been bought, and so it will not surprise me if at some point we hear from legal counsel from Comcast as to just inquiring as to why, in light of the fact that there is an existing franchise agreement in place, why it is that we're requiring additional responsibilities that may or may not be addressed already in the agreement, the standing agreement. That was C Spire's argument. C Spire eventually came around to our way of thinking that it would be in their best interest as corporate citizens of our community to work with us, and so that issue just kind of went away. It never was fully addressed. So I just mentioned that to you as a word of caution that we may hear something
yeah.
from.
And the other thing I want to bring up on the same point, just to kind of remind the minutes or the recording of this, the reason this is a problem and the reason the permits are so critical in these subdivision areas is because they go in and they destroy infrastructure that's underground, and they're gone by the time we notice it, whether it's a sewer damage leak that we've had multiple ones, a water line that's cut. Now those aren't county issues, but they're still inside the county right of way, and there's still damages to the roadway, and they're gone, and we got to fix it.
Well, as far as that matter, there's individuals that get their irrigation system
No question
busted
about
too.
it. Yeah, I mean, and there's damage to the private citizens, so that's the reason we have the permits and that stuff. So
Interestingly enough, they always, however, know how to get in touch with us, Rankin County, anytime one of our road guys gets into one of their pieces of infrastructure, they know exactly where we are, and they're happy to talk to us at any point in time about what we did to their infrastructure. It's an amazing reality that it's a one-way street of communication. So I just point that out for purposes of the record.
Thank you.
So is that a new?
No,
No,
that section back there is probably 15 years old, 10 or 15 years old, but there's never been any fiber laid back in
They're
there.
starting to
They're
do,
not
Jay,
making fiber, it says coax cable.
right, Jay, what they're starting to do is they must be
They're trying to
upgrading their
compete.
system because
They're trying to compete.
we got a ton of permits that's not on this,
Coax ain't gonna carry.
Yeah, that we're just doing this permit.
that we just now getting
The
to,
reason why
and,
they're tearing stuff up.
Because
so I think they're upgrading their system just like everybody else is trying to do, and
Well, I was just curious if they already have it there, why would you put more of the same?
They're replacing some of the existing ones.
Yeah, okay.
But why
We're
would
not gonna
you?
remove the old, Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah, why would you put newer stuff in there?
Yeah.
I don't know. You can't outthink them, I don't think.
All
But-
right.
all right,
Do I
so
have a
I'm-
motion approved?
yeah, some of
Motion by Daniel approved. Second by Steve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
C is Fallen Oak with C Spire. They did a permit back a year ago, refreshing this one, with our new stuff on board, cause they'd never started it. And actually, we have not took over this subdivision yet. So they're corresponding, we have reviewed their plans, and this subdivision has a utility easement for them to be in, so,
Did y'all hear that?
Good luck.
Y'all pick up on that?
Yeah.
They're not going to be in our road right of way.
Because we don't have our, that's right, we don't have the
We
road.
made the developer set apart a 10-foot easement on the outside of the right of way. That's where this infrastructure's going.
yeah, we're gonna monitor the crossbores is what we'll be monitoring on that job right there.
This is where they're impacting public infrastructure, in those limited areas where they're impacting public infrastructure. Our hope is, and I only highlight this so that you guys are aware, you upgraded your infrastructure permitting process and you upgraded your development ordinance to account for, we don't want them in the right of way if we can help it.
Yep.
Okay? So this is an example of a new development where the infrastructure is not gonna be in your right of way.
Okay.
Wow, that's
So why
gonna
do they need
be,
a permit? Because they're gonna cross roads here and there. So that's all this is addressing.
It's gonna spoil you, you know?
no, it ain't either.
I don't know.
Wait,
Well, the problem is you gotta make sure they do this when they go in there.
Be
But it's not
aware,
us.
They don't
No,
always get it
but-
right.
It's gonna be rough.
They're gonna do whatever they want to do.
Yeah. All right, do I have a motion?
Yep, motion.
Motion approved by Steve,
Second.
second by Daniel. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
D, I got a request of AT&T to do a fiber cable along Q Ward Boulevard to install existing handholds, 1996 Q Ward Boulevard. This is existing cable that has went bad, that they're replacing. That's what they're doing right there.
All right, so moved.
Motion by Daniel,
Second.
second by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
While I'm up here though, I would like to, I mean, I know me and Craig and Tim and several of us, Daniel, you know, beat up on C Spire pretty bad and some of these other people, but actually with our inspection process in order, C Spire is actually going above and beyond what we're asking them to do now. They finally got it right. I hate to say that. Bay Springs does too. You know, they're doing exactly what so when you're probably gonna have some utility companies come to you and say, hey, we can't do it this way, but everybody else is that we've been dealing with these permits. And that's where I had a little problem with Comcast at. They was like, well, we don't wanna be that deep. They wanna be 10 inches deep. Well, that's how we get tore up in their stuff. You know, we try to dig out a ditch and it's 10 inches in a ditch. So that's where but everybody's doing it, turn in a permit, we're doing the inspection process, is doing it the way we ask, you know. So I think our complaints have went down, we've got good documentation where stuff's been tore up, so if somebody's sewer gets messed up, we've got document, so we can go back. I mean, we've had some cases out in Castle Woods that they've been gone for a month, but we knew who was in that area, so we knew who to call to fix the problem. on it. So,
Thank you.
thank y'all
All right.
for letting us be able to hire inspectors and keep that going.
Okay. Mr. Parker?
Thank you, Mr. President. The first item I have on the agenda is North Shore Landing Phase 3. We're recommending approval of the construction plans. That's in District 2.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Daniel, second by Jared. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
The next item, item B, is on the Mill Creek Subdivision Drainage Improvements Project. We're recommending approval of payout number 6 in the amount of $23,446.19 to Utility Constructors, Inc., and authority to issue the check.
Yeah, so just maybe an update on that, where we're at, Slade. Can you kind of tie that together? We got to be close.
Yes. Unfortunately, Mr. Cross, that is one of the, I'm scared to tell you how many items that we will be discussing in executive session.
Okay.
Oh, Lord.
So you want to hold this off till then? Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion by Daniel, second by Steve. Any other discussion?
How
All in
many
favor
more
say
is on, how many more times? This is number 6.
I don't know how many total payments.
How many
is.
total payments is?
Well, I mean, we just, you pay them as they, I mean, if they do $250 worth of work next month and
Probably
submit a
about,
pay
I think
request,
wants to
it's
know what
around, I think
percentage
it's around
are we in.
400 and
I mean, what percentage complete is it?
Yeah, I mean, how
Probably
much longer?
90
I mean,
probably
5 years?
90%.
No, all the major work is done except for the install of one pipe.
it's probably 90% done. So
To be continued.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Item C, Mr. President, on the Mill Creek Bank protection at Woodlands Green Place, NRCS-EWP project, we're recommending approval of payout number 2 in the amount of $13,709.94 to MIMS Inc. and authority to issue the check.
so moved.
Motion by Daniel,
Second.
second by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Quick update on that one. NRCS did ask us to relay a message. They're going back now, and they think there may be a little bit more eligibility on some items. There was some fence removal and replacement that they first of all said weren't eligible. Now, for some reason, they've rethought that, and so Ms. Shannon asked us to relay that that's why there's been no reimbursement yet, is they're trying to decide exactly what the full reimbursement is.
Thank you.
Item D, Gunner Road Improvements Clearing and Grubbing Project. We're requesting approval of payout number 2 in the amount of $94,810 to Pearson Dozer Service LLC for work performed and authority to issue the check.
So moved.
Motion by Jared,
Second.
second by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
The next item is on the Spillway Road North Shore Parkway project. We're requesting approval of a quantity adjustment number 4 in the amount of $85,548.62.
Yeah, one thing I want to do, a couple questions before we take up items E and F. Did you notify Hempfield to come into our meeting today?
We did notify Hemp Hill, and their project manager said he had a bid opening to be at, so he would not be here.
He has priorities in another place, right? What about MDOT?
We
Did you talk to
notified
them guys?
MDOT, and the LPA coordinator for our project is not working today.
Government employee, right?
Yes,
Just
sir.
like me.
He's a government.
Here's one thing I want to do on items E and F. I want to postpone that to after executive session because I think I've got some legal things we need to talk about before we go in and authorize E and F. So if we can, I'm going to push it to the end of the agenda.
Yes, sir.
And then we'll come back to it.
President,
Is that all right? Hey, you make a motion.
Both of
Move.
these.
Motion's moving.
I think just by acclamation, unless somebody has an objection to moving it to the heel of the docket,
Yeah.
we'll just do it by acclamation. But that's
All right.
taken up.
You got anything else?
I have nothing further.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Slade.
Mr. President, items A, B, C, and D under my section are all May 28, 2020, 9 a.m. These will be to set public hearings, May 28, 9 a.m.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to set them.
Motion by Daniel, second by Brad. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Mr. President, item E under my section will be a public hearing on the Ricky Norton 43 LLC rezoning
He's here.
request. This is a Highway 43 North. Oh, did you? I'm sorry. Hold on. Jeez. We're going to open that public hearing. Mr. Norton, 43 LLC is seeking to rezone 3.40 acres of a 19.35 acre parcel from RE1 to I1. The property is located at 4077 Highway 43 North. The 3.4 acres joins Harbor Gate self-storage property to the west. That property is zoned I1. Harbor Gate is interested in purchasing the 3.4 acres if the zoning can be changed to I1. And so at this time, that public hearing is open. I'll ask if there is anyone here to speak in opposition to the Ricky Norton 43 LLC rezoning request. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter. At this time, it'd be appropriate, we're going to close the public hearing. At this time, it'd be appropriate to take action.
Great, thank you. I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, motion by Daniel to approve,
Second.
second by Jared. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right.
All right, Mr. President, item F under my section is a public hearing on the Linda Phillips conditional use permit. This is at 120 Little Ponderosa Drive, which is a District 2 parcel. That public hearing is open. Ms. Phillips is seeking a conditional use permit to replace an existing manufactured home with a new double wide at 120 Little Ponderosa Drive. Ms. Phillips owns 6.50 acres. The property is zoned RE1. She has health issues and needs her son to take care of her. She's seeking the conditional use permit under the hardship section of the RE1 zoning, the component part of our zoning ordinance. That public hearing is open. I'll ask if there is anyone here to speak in opposition to the Linda Phillips conditional use permit request. Is anyone to speak in opposition on that matter?
Ms. Phillips is not here.
Okay. Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak on that matter. We'll close that public hearing. There may be conditions. I'm not aware.
I think the only thing was she was going to replace the one that was there. So the one that was there currently, she's going to remove that and place a new one in that spot. So I'll make a motion to approve based on that.
Second.
All right, motion by Daniel, second by Jared. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Send in Mark.
All right. Mr. President, next item under my section, item G, is a public hearing on the Mark Haskins Dogwood Construction and Home Builders LLC request for a dimensional variance. Mr. Haskins Dogwood Construction and Home Builders LLC is seeking a dimensional variance on Lot 26 of Ventnor's Crossing, 304 Oakville Circle. Property is zoned R1. The side setback is 7.5 feet. When a survey of the neighboring lot was conducted, it was discovered that the slab of the house on Lot 26 was actually poured plus or minus 10 inches within that side setback. The applicant is requesting a variance of 2.5 feet, which would allow for a 5-foot side setback from the north property line of Lot 26. That public hearing is open. I'll ask if there is anyone here to speak in opposition to the Mark Haskins Dogwood Construction and Home Builders LLC dimensional variance request. Anyone here to speak in opposition to that matter?
Mike is representing him.
Okay. And Mike, you're in favor, I think, right? Okay, very good. I don't see anyone here, Mr. President, to speak in opposition on that matter, so we'll close that public hearing. At this time, it'd be appropriate to take action.
Yeah, and I'll make one comment before, as we do it. I'm going to make a motion to approve, but this is a small adjustment to the lot lines, basically to be sure everything's kind of in conjunction with what's already existing in those locations. So I'm making a motion to approve.
Motion by Daniel, second by Jared. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
Mr. President, item H in my section is a public hearing on the Rick and Jean Denson conditional use permit. And so we'll open that public hearing. Mr. and Ms. Denson are seeking a conditional use permit for a manufactured home that has been placed at 306 B. Summers Road. Their grandson moved a new 16 by 82 manufactured home onto this property. It's an 8.50 acre parcel that's zoned C2. The property has been used as a deer camp since 1983. There are numerous campers and deer hunting sheds that are on the property. So that public hearing is open. I'll ask at this time if there is anyone here to speak in opposition to the Rick and Jean Denson conditional use permit request. Anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter unless there are questions for the applicant. We can close the public hearing. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. We'll close that public hearing. This time it'll be appropriate to take action. At this time there are some conditions I think that,
Yep.
yeah. Did you? Here are the conditions that have been provided by my capable community development director. The proposed conditions, Mr. President, are as follows. The manufactured home can remain on the property for a period of 3 years. It must be removed at the end of the 3-year period. The second condition, the home cannot be used as rental property. The third condition, the home cannot be transferred to a third party unless it is in fact being moved off-site. If Mr. Denson moves before the time limit expires, the home must be removed from the property. And then there is, we need to address the issue of the fine for moving the home onto our property in violation of our permit ordinance that has been in place for several years now. Okay, so those would be the conditions.
Yeah, I want to make a discussion on that. Shannon, I know you're here. Yeah, I don't think that's what we'd originally talked about on the same thing. I want to make one adjustment to that, and then I hadn't even talked to Shannon about this, but I want to mention this now. I don't want to have the 3-year restriction on him that he's capped for 3 years.
Okay.
As long as he's in the position of staying in that trailer for whatever it is, he's good.
Yes.
But it can't change hands. He can't rent it out, sell it, or anything that's to live in that spot. He can sell it or move it off that location.
Okay.
That's the condition I'd rather put instead of the 3-year issue on there.
So instead of the manufactured home stays on the property for 3 years and then must be moved, should be changed to indicate that the manufactured home can remain on the property as long as Shannon is the occupant.
Or Shannon's son, yeah. Shannon's son is the occupant. Is that
Yes.
good with you, Shannon, on that same
Yes,
side?
sir.
Okay, I'd rather take it that way. And you heard the other provision on the same side. The other things I want to also do is I do want to address the manufacturer company
Yes.
that sold him the home and let you do some legal work on those guys on fines or anything, but I don't want to hold them responsible for it.
I
The Denson
understand.
family on
Yes.
that same point. But I do want to pursue actions and discussion with that company that sold them that violated the permit and bringing it into Rankin County.
Correct.
They put the Densons in a bad situation, and the Densons are a good family, it's a good group of people, and they wouldn't have knowingly done it. But having bad representation from this mobile home company, it got themselves in a bad position. So
Understood.
I hope we're going to get that cleared up on this point, but I would like to direct you to take some action toward those guys on the permit side of it.
Understood.
So on all the restrictions, the only one I want to adjust on your list is the 3-year limit. Take that off. Don't put a time frame on it. As long as he's staying there, he's good.
With him or his son, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I may need a place to stay before it's all over with anyway. So I may be coming out, but if it changes hands, sales or something like that, then we move it off of that location. We go from that point. So
And also, once it's developed out there, which I would love to see it in my lifetime. I
Sure.
mean, if you would, we would be fools not to move it and sell it. I mean,
Sure.
We're not trying to block it.
Right. And this whole situation was a misunderstanding as far as how it took place. So I appreciate the patience of the Densons and willing to work with the county on everything on that same point. So
there'll be 4 conditions,
Okay.
and
Review
one
them
of
for me.
those would be adjusted. Let me work back through them real quickly so it's clear on the record.
Yep.
The manufactured home can remain on this property as long as it's occupied by the Denson family, individuals in the Denson family here. And then the home cannot be used as a rental property. The home cannot be transferred to a third party unless it's being moved off of the property. And if Mr. Denson, the 4th condition just needs to be that as long as he's there, the unit can stay.
Yeah.
Okay? So we really don't need that 4th condition, Renee, I don't think. And then the 5th condition will be removed, and what I'm being instructed, what I'm hearing, Daniel, is that you want us to pursue whatever fine is appropriate against the mobile home seller.
Correct. And
the mobile home
Installer.
transporter installer.
Correct. And not the Denson family. So that's what
Understood.
So that'll be my motion.
Second.
All right, motion by Daniel, second by Steve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Okay. To the extent that I failed to close that hearing, it's now closed.
All right.
Thank
you.
What do we need to do to proceed? Do we wait for y'all or?
I think Ms. Renee can tell him from there. Just contact their office, Shannon, and she'll get you through the process here.
Thank y'all so
Okay.
much. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate y'all.
Thanks,
Very
Shannon.
good.
you.
Hey, can we put a fine on all these mobile home people that bring in these mobile homes without a permit?
Yes, sir.
And set them on site?
If they're a mobile home seller, a mobile home installer, or an owner of the property, all of those are subject to the permitting requirement before a home is moved into Rankin County.
Yep.
Yes,
But
sir.
it may be difficult to collect, though.
Yeah.
It's probably collecting.
We actually have enforced that ordinance against mobile home sellers. in the past, they learn pretty quickly. And so I think I mentioned this when we had our preliminary hearing for this Denson, that the word got around very quickly in the seller installer community that Rankin County will fine you if you don't follow their ordinance. And so we don't see as much non-compliance from the local folks, but we still have issues, outlier areas that are bringing units in. And this one, I recall, came from Laurel.
Yeah, it was South Mississippi somewhere.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. We ready to move to item I, Mr. President?
We are.
This is a follow-up, and it's an action item that we are suggesting that the board undertake that can be kind of a standing item as we move through this process. It's simply to document the expenditures that the board is authorizing that clearly relate to the COVID virus response. This is a way for us to, in essence, provide for some level of tracking for purposes of potential reimbursement. And I want to stress potential reimbursement. You guys know that this stuff is a moving target. The law is still unclear. They haven't even acted, by the way, on passing a law with respect to the reimbursement. And don't expect that to happen until they come back into. They're going to gavel out here this week and probably not come back until at least the 25th.
They're back in session for normal operating business on Monday, the 18th. Is that the 18th?
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
they're back in session on the 18th. Maybe
Okay.
not with this topic,
Yeah.
but under the regular session, come back and play Monday the 18th.
We had heard as late as last night that they were not going to come back to the 25th.
Hey, maybe so, and it may
So,
change. Yeah, my information came from Monday, so if it changed last night, then you got the more current stuff.
Well, I don't know that anybody knows exactly.
I
We'd have
was
to
told
go
they
ask
were gonna
Delmer.
gavel out today.
Yep.
And not come back for a week.
That's what I understood.
That could be very well it.
So the point is this: we don't know when we're going to see actual legislation passed that gives us some idea about reimbursement. And I make that point because I want you to understand, until the law gets passed, there's not going to be an application process. So we have been preparing. I speak for Ms. Laura. Your staff has been very busy trying to gather all of the detail that we're anticipating is going to be required for reimbursement, for this reimbursement process. But as we sit here today, we don't know what's going to be eligible, and we don't know what format they're going to require, and we don't know what the application is going to look like. And so we're working the channels, we're doing everything we can, but just be aware of that. So this item right here it's anticipatory, and we're trying to make sure we document everything that's going to be COVID related as clearly as we can. So I'll walk you through those items: the conference table and furnishings for the conference room at EOC, the labor for the electrical work in the EOC conference room. This is to get us ready for video conferencing, which is directly, obviously, related to the COVID issue, and it's so that our staff can conduct the meetings they need to conduct without having to be personally present and around everybody else in violation of all these orders. The TVs and computers and cameras and related connectivity devices and software that are required for that conference area to retrofit with plexiglass and tempered glass the county offices. We talked to you guys about that at the last meeting, that pricing discussions with particular vendors who could provide that service, the idea that we wanted a more professional look for the offices that are going to be in the public eye, that kind of thing. That's all being incorporated here. You guys are simply acknowledging that is going to be ongoing activity and work. We're waiting on pricing, but it's related to the COVID response.
That's covers our tax collector's offices and everything.
Yes, sir. All county offices. Ms. Laura, you?
Yes, there'll be some in quite a few county offices, and we're going to get one company come in under the emergency provision. We're not going to do quotes. They're going to come in and do it. There's going to be some offices. I think Carolyn's is going to be one. Their counter might not support the weight, so there's going to have to be some retrofitting done there. And then her office at Flowood, Richland, will be a reimbursement to the city of Richland for that office.
Hey, let me stop you right there for a second. What came up on that last time? There was something on the
There,
Richland
it
office.
is fine. He's
What
redoing
happened
some
on
things.
that?
They still have an office. There's no problem.
There was the potential for adjustments to the locations, and I think Caroline was indicating concern over losing that drive-through location. That's what we discussed.
So we're not having to change locations?
No, we're not. I talked to Pat. They're adding a second window. It's
No,
not necessarily.
It was
yeah.
not quite, a little more, not quite as much to it.
Right.
Well, that's good to hear.
So that, we've got that taken care of. There'll just be a few strategic places that they'll be placed, to keep contact, with the public.
So I'm sure Justice Court will be getting some, and
Well, Justice Court, as it stands right now, we might use what we take up over here, the plexiglass that was temporarily, and put it up there because it's gonna be temporary, because they will have it in
Fixing
the
to
new
be in the
building.
new
It's
building.
already included in that one. There will be a change order coming though for an area in the new building that it was not anticipated there, which would be the public reception area for the Chancery Court, and also for the officer stations, the one upstairs and the one downstairs of your security.
I don't know if we need to bring this up right now into that same point, but once you mentioned the new building and the change order stuff for that, I don't know if there's a change order coming out, but I spoke to Judge Roberts yesterday, calling me with two concerns, one in that building. I know we're on that topic, but since you mentioned it, I don't know if it needs to fall into this area or not, but for your notes, there was an oversight somewhere. There wasn't a witness box placed into the courtrooms inside the design of it for whatever reason. Overlooked it somehow. How your legal area missed the witness box, I don't know.
when we walked through the other day, Larry and I walked through, and I noticed that I didn't see a place for the witness
Yeah.
in the courtrooms. And it's the craziest thing, because the judges drew their courtrooms.
We let them design it. But
I don't know how that happened.
somehow we missed the witness box. So I know we need
And
to
it's
put a
not a
witness
good
box.
location to put one, the way it was
I'll
built
reach out to Carl
Really?
and see what.
But I want to be sure we get a witness box put in each of the courtrooms, right, for those to speak. The other issue,
My recollection is that in the design, the witness box, for chancery purposes, the witness box is front and center facing the judge. So I'm
They're saying
fairly
there's not even one in
confident.
But maybe they haven't built that yet.
Maybe they
It
haven't
was,
put
it was
the-
definitely in the design,
It-
and it's likely
Okay.
that it just simply hasn't been constructed yet.
well, if we could follow up on it, I just want to be
Okay.
sure when we come out here, we won't meet for another couple of weeks.
Right.
And I want to be sure that, one, we got a witness box there in
Right.
each of the courtrooms, even in justice. I don't know, I hadn't been over there to see it, so I don't know.
Okay.
Chancery
other-
proceedings
The
are
other was the bench
non-jury, so
behind
you
the
don't have to
judge.
face a
Facing-
jury,
yep.
you're facing the judge.
Yeah.
So the design, I specifically recall that the design provided for a witness box facing the judge.
Okay, maybe we can just check on that and be sure we have one. The other one
I don't know
was,
what the deal.
Judge Roberts felt the bench.
The height.
The height of the bench needs to be raised up. Now, when he's saying bench, I think of like a sporting bench at a baseball field, right? He's not talking about that. He's talking
Daniel,
about this
can I
setup
ask,
here.
you may not have the answer, I may be asking you a question you don't know the answer to, and I apologize, but is his issue it's not that the dais is not high enough, it's that the panel, the
Is not
protection
high enough.
panel is not high enough, I believe.
Something of that nature.
We need to
He
make
wants
sure
it
we
higher
know
on
what
that.
he's saying.
So I just want to, if we can follow up and
Something
check with
about
those guys, to be sure that those two little items are addressed. Those are big things. One, that obviously he's sitting behind it, and two, we need a place for the witness. So if we can check on those two things, but and it's probably not the time, but when she mentioned the courthouse and stuff like that, I wanted to bring that back up because I'll forget here in just a few minutes.
I think our architect is
So-
aware that there was some concern over the height of the,
Podium?
it's the panel,
Yeah.
it's behind which the judge is seated, and there are issues of security and other things that go on with that. So I think our architect was going to go back and look at that issue.
I know they were meeting up there this morning on it, but I want to follow
Okay.
up. If we need to take action on that, to be sure those two items are in that building, in those multiple rooms, we need to do that.
We'll make that phone call.
Okay.
Getting back to this.
Yeah, item 5, I didn't quite get to 5. This is, goes back and it relates to the discussion that Mike and Ken walked you guys through, anticipating again that we're going to have to do something with respect to crowds at the multipurpose pavilion. This fencing would be that temporary fencing like we have out here in our lobby that's this crowd control. It's directing traffic. Okay, so those are those movable fence panels is what we're talking about there.
All right, so if we don't get reimbursed, where's all this money coming from? Is it out of everybody's budget?
Out of everybody's budget, and if there's not enough amendments, they'll look cash. If it's not already contained within there, if they don't, because of money being there, because of a project they can't do at this time, that would free up some money, but these are expenses that would apply because we did
They're
not plan
unbudgeted.
for them. We
Absolutely
did not
not.
budget for
Totally
them.
unbudgeted. And that's an item of reimbursability is that it's not budgeted, and so This is why we believe we need to clarify on our minutes. These are not budgeted items, and we don't want to get in the trick bag of having to explain why we're asking the state for money. If in fact, we had anticipated we will have to spend at least some manner of this for something. Okay, so this is clearly indicating on the minutes, these are unbudgeted expenditures. These are visited on us. We didn't ask for this, okay? So that's the clarification I wanted to make about that. We're also under the emergency order. I keep going back to that because I want it to be clear on the record that we all understand we're operating under a governor's declaration of emergency and a local declaration of emergency, both of which are still in place. They haven't been lifted. And so on the record, we are telling everybody that we're going to buy these things and we're going to implement these things because of the state of emergency. Okay, so we would need action on that item,
So
please.
I'll make a motion to approve items 1 through 5 under I.
All right, motion by Daniel to approve,
Second.
second by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
A meeting or so back, Mike went through with you guys the issue of the right-of-way, vegetative control on our rights of way. This is action on that item. The vendor is called Pro Services LLC. This will be a professional services agreement. Repeat, this is a professional services agreement. You would be enlisting Pro Services LLC for 2 roadside turf chemical control applications for this particular season. This will be from this point in time to the end of this year. That is the term of the initial agreement. 2 applications during this truncated time frame of about 7 months, 7.5 months. Okay, 6.5 months. All right, so chemical spray 1 would be immediately upon approval of the agreement whenever they can get situated with Mike and go over it. 600 road miles for each application, total of 1,200 under this treatment regimen. You're looking at $51,000 for each of the applications, a total of 102.
That 600 covers both sides of the road?
Mike,
Yes.
cover both sides?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a
How
good
many road
question.
miles do we have?
You know, we're looking
About
for around
1,000.
1,200, Jay, but, I mean, we got subdivision, stuff like that I took out of it, you know, and you take the yards out, you know, we're not gonna spray nobody's yards or nothing, so it works out to be about 600 if we would be doing this application on, you know, probably half of our system would be doing an application on.
All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Daniel,
Second.
second by Brad. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
So PRV and Rankin County have indicated a willingness to cooperate together on finally getting our bridge guardrail problem on the causeway solved. And so this is the outworking of that cooperative agreement. We have an interlocal agreement that PRV put together. I made some adjustments to it. It is now in a position that I'm satisfied with. PRV is agreeing to pay 50%, not to exceed $104,993.50, which is our estimated cost of
For
project.
them not to exceed or for us not to exceed?
Well, they are not going to write a check bigger than $104,933.50.
The original one was more like 250, I thought.
No, I think it was almost 200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the
Double the
104?
$104,993,
That
and
would
that's
be
your
half of
estimated
theirs.
cost.
If the total bridge redo was 208,
Yeah.
then the 104 would be their half. Our half would be 104.
Oh, okay. I didn't read it that way.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and I want to say this: this is 3 years we've been fighting to get them to pay half
Yeah.
of this
Yes.
on this bridge.
Probably longer than
And
that.
it's
Feels
been
like 30.
it's been a great job by you and Tim and Mike to get that done. So thank you for that.
Well, we've had a lot of help to finally get to this point. And I'm grateful that the folks at PRV, the board at
That's
PRV,
right.
has seen the positive reality that nobody wanted to get in a situation where we didn't get those guardrails improved. We've had some bad results out there occasionally. And so everybody's aware, and we got to get on it. And I think everybody just finally come to the realization this project needs to happen. And yeah, so it would be a lot of money for them to move their utilities out of our way so we could do this. So this cooperation has eliminated the need for a lot of unnecessary expense. So it's a good result.
Motion to approve.
All right, motion by Daniel approved,
Second.
second by Jared. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Finally, under my section, this approval of a revised extension and amendment to the ambulance service agreement you guys approved at the last board meeting. This is a revision that clarifies one thing. I believe, Ms. Chance, did we put that on there? Do they have the agreement on the packet, in the packet by chance?
Well, you've got one in your, I've copied it in yours.
Okay. There is one.
I've got one they can look
there-
at right here.
There's one clarification, and it's this. Instead of saying that upon passage of legislation that provides for exclusivity on BLS service, the language says upon passage, there will be an immediate meeting and discussion about the subsidy between Rankin County and Pafford. So it's simply a clarifier that says we're going to discuss whether or not there's a subsidy in light of the fact that there's passage of this. If there is a discussion and the subsidy remains, the board still has the authority to immediately go to RFP.
Yep.
Okay?
I thought that's what we said last time.
We
Yeah.
said it would automatically.
Yeah. So all we're doing is we're clarifying, instead of saying it's automatically gone, it's automatically going to be a discussion of whether it's gone.
All right,
So I'll make a motion.
motion by Daniel,
Second.
second by Brad. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
I've got a few matters of litigation to discuss with you guys in executive. I hope it won't take very long.
All right. Ms. Austin.
Thank you. The first item I have is acknowledgement of the receipt of a request for authority to conduct firework display at Pisgah High School on May 18th and grant authority to the Rankin County School District and to Southern Lights and Tate's Fireworks to conduct that display.
It's gonna be a good one.
Brett got everything we needed. I know there was a little time crunch.
Yes, sir, he was able to do the inspection, they got all the paperwork, done. He went out to the site inspection, he's good to go.
And the people who's putting this on are certified and everything.
He's familiar with them, had them before, and they said up to a, which I thought was strange, the duration is 2 minutes.
What is this? What are
They're
they
gonna have a
They
graduation.
provided a
Graduation.
certificate of
And
liability.
you sit in your car. And
Yeah.
I think, is this the same people that did Northwest? Is this the same people that's done it at Northwest High School?
It's the same group of people that shoot during football games off the side, so.
Yeah.
Is it gonna be at Pisgah High School itself or out there?
On the football field, I think, or somewhere near the football field.
There's a map in that thing I gave you, Steve.
They sent a site plan and all that stuff, and he went out and did the evaluation. It is normal stuff that, every time somebody in the county wants to do a fireworks display, it just was a little time crunch on the end of it, because they weren't aware they needed to do it.
All right,
But everything's been done.
have a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Steve, second by Daniel. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
The next item is approval of the modification to extend the Mississippi Justice Assistant Grant, our JAG grant, from the Division of Public Safety for the Juvenile Drug Court ending July 31st, 2020. This is a time extension. There is no more money, but there will be a budget amendment to follow, and it will just be moving into categories they've been approved for.
So moved.
Motion by Daniel,
Second.
second by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
That's all I have.
On our consent agenda, one of the deals had paying our assistant county prosecutor. What was the previous salary?
It was that same
I
thing.
think change.
It would, it's the same. I think we ended up, when we made it 65 the last time, that was when we negotiated out the.
Yeah, I missed that meeting.
No.
Thank goodness. All right, any additional business?
We're good on that issue I brought to you about the Chancery Court, though, right? You see what we talked about? Okay.
Okay, have a motion, discuss the need, to go into executive session.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Daniel, second by Jared, or one of y'all. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. So what are we going to executive session for?
Litigation.
Just litigation? All right.
Ongoing and.
Hey, Renee, later I want to holler at you. I want to talk to you about that deal's down on, what is it, Adams Street or something? Mm-hmm. See what y'all kind of,
Good night.
what we kind of are.
Yep, get back.
So I hadn't called the guy back to contact me.
I'm sure it's COVID.
All right, do I have a motion going to executive session for litigation?
So moved.
Motion by Jared, second by Daniel. All in favor say aye. Ayes have it.